On the 113th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast, we're going to be talking about the upcoming NFL season. We have some MLB news and injuries. We're going to be ranking the top 5 highest paid MLB managers, some wild NBA offseason news, and ending it off with some Hall of Fame. Yay or nay, make sure you use code HatTrick Sports when checking it out at w.gg for 10% off your order. Roll it! Welcome to HatTrick Sports, starring your host, Isaiah Carpenter. Bringing you the biggest sports headlines every week. This is the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Hey, let's get this podcast started with the NFL. We have some NFL news. We have some Sanders drama. What else is new? But yes, we have some Sanders drama. Let's start off with Shedeur. Shedeur Sanders says that he is confident that he will make the Cleveland Browns 53-man roster despite struggling in Saturday's preseason game. So Saturday, he absolutely sucked in what will be his last preseason game before the season starts. He completed 3 of 6 passes for 14 yards. He was sacked 5 times and led the Browns to only 1 first down in his 5 series under center. Not good. And it was against the Rams. Not good for Shedeur Sanders, especially with the amount of QBs that the Browns have and him trying to make that 53-man roster. It's not looking good for Shedeur. I think that he'll ultimately make the roster. I just don't think he's going to get a lot of playing time, if any at all. But he's confident that he's going to make the roster. He was asked whether he thinks he'll make the Browns 53-man roster, and he said, obviously, which is a wild statement because it's not that obvious. I think he will. Don't get me wrong. I think he will. I think he just had 1 bad preseason game. But to say obviously after a performance like that is crazy. He says overall as a player, I've put in the work. Sanders says after the loss. He says, I feel like everything I do, I try to do to the best, and that's all I can ask for. Hey, that doesn't mean that you make the NFL roster for the Browns. Just because you try your best doesn't mean that you are going to be on the team. Like, that means nothing. It's not that it means nothing. It just doesn't equate to making the team. The amount of energy that you put in doesn't always put out like that. I don't know. But yeah, he was a 5th round pick in the draft a couple months ago. The Browns have a bunch of quarterbacks that they have to kind of sort out and see if they're going to keep any, play any, whatever they got to do. And knowing that Shedeur Sanders not having a great preseason game doesn't help his cause at all. It's just going to be hard with the amount of QBs that they have, but he expects to make the roster. He says, obviously, I think that's a little crazy of a statement. Now, the other side of the Sanders drama this week was Shiloh Sanders, the brother of Shedeur. Shiloh Sanders was ejected for punching Zach Davidson from the Bills. What is going on? Just because your dad is a Hall of Famer does not mean that you get to obviously make the Browns 53-man roster or obviously get to punch a guy from the Bills? Like, what is going on? Shiloh Sanders was ejected for unnecessary roughness call in Tampa Bay's 3rd preseason game against the Bills on Saturday. Now, obviously, Shiloh was an undrafted free agent out of, obviously, Colorado, who is competing for the 4th safety spot in the 53-man roster, just like his brother. And, but yeah, he punched the tight end, Zach Davidson, who was blocking him. And I did watch the video. If you guys haven't watched the video, I watched, the play and stuff. And yeah, Davidson was on him for a little too long. But Shiloh, he just completely, bam, just out of nowhere. And then Davidson gives him a little bit of trash talk. And ultimately, Shiloh's ejected. One second. Davidson wasn't ejected, obviously, because he didn't punch a guy. But Shiloh was ejected. Bowles talked to Shiloh. He said, you can't throw punches in this league. That's inexcusable. They're going to get you every time. You've got to grow from that. It's like Shiloh Sanders is somehow worse than Shedeur Sanders. And he's trying to make a roster spot. And then you go out and punch guys in preseason. like, I get it. Davidson was on him for a little long, and probably would have got the flag if Shallow didn't punch him. It's just like the Sanders family. What is going on? Like, your dad, sure, he's a Hall of Famer. That doesn't mean you get to do all this other stuff. Crazy. The family's crazy. 49ers, Demarcus Robinson is suspended for 3 games, officially suspended for 3 games. Everybody kind of knew that he was going to get suspended. But yeah, the 49ers signed him as a free agent. He was on the Rams, and in November, he got arrested for a misdemeanor DUI, and the NFL I don't think the NFL fully came out and gave him, publicly gave him this suspension, but they gave him the suspension, and then the Rams, or somebody on the 49ers, was it the, 1 second, let me find this real quick. Yeah, I think somebody was on a radio show. Yeah. Kyle Shanahan. It was the head coach. Kyle Shanahan was on a radio station or whatever and said that it was official that he was going to get the 3-game suspension for the misdemeanor DUI. So what happened was that they signed Demarcus Robinson, kind of knowing that he was going to get suspended, but it wasn't official. And for the first 3 games of the season, which the 49ers schedule, they play the Seahawks, the Saints, and the Cardinals. So we'll see how that affects them. And but yeah, they signed him for. They traded. Oh, I had it all here too. Oh, yeah, a 2-year, $9.5 million contract in free agency. Again, knowing that 3 weeks that he was more than likely going to get suspended. He was arrested in November in Los Angeles while he was with the Rams and pleaded no contest to misdemeanor DUI in early July, just a couple months ago. And then when the Niners signed Robinson, they knew the likelihood that he was going to get the NFL's personal conduct violation and get suspended. Not that big of news, but it's worth noting. Let's go on to something that kind of surprised me. How long this new generation of obviously NFL players coming in, you think they just got in here, the Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, all these guys. You think that they just got in the league, but I was going through them. Patrick Mahomes is entering his 9th year. Joe Burrow is entering his 6th year. That surprised me the most. I feel like Joe Burrow is supposed to be entering his 3rd year. I feel like he just got drafted. Lamar Jackson is entering his 8th year in the NFL. You have Jamar Chase entering his 5th year, which again, that kind of makes sense. For some reason, I don't know. I just feel like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, I just feel like they haven't been in the league for 5 years. I mean, that's just crazy to think about. I feel like it's been a lot less than that. Josh Allen is entering his 8th year. Justin Jefferson is entering year 6. Dak Prescott could be considered a veteran now, and he's entering his 10th year in the NFL, which is crazy. Dak Prescott is going to be considered a veteran. CeeDee Lamb is entering year 6. You got all sorts of guys. When you really think about it, yeah, they've been in the league for a hot minute. Derrick Henry is entering year 10. DK Metcalf is entering his 7th year. It's still so weird to see him in a Steelers uniform. It just looks weird. It looks like Photoshopped. These are real pictures that he's taken. It just doesn't look real because I'm used to seeing him in Seahawks stuff. Justin Herbert is entering year 4. No, not year 4. Year 6. I read that as a 4. Trevor Lawrence is entering year 5. That's another thing. Joe Burrow and Trevor Lawrence, I feel like, obviously, because Joe Burrow got drafted the year after Trevor Lawrence, but I feel like because Joe Burrow was so good as a junior, I just feel like, I don't know, it's just weird time perception seeing these guys entering years 5, 6, 7, and 8, watching them in college at what just feels like a few years ago. Yeah, somebody said in the comments, 10 years listening to people saying Dak is elite. Yeah, but it's just wild. It's wild to think about. Let's move on. What other stuff? No, we got another page in between there. We have some MLB news. The big MLB news of the week is potential MLB expansion and realignment. So, Rob Manfred came out in the Little League World Series talking about potential expansion and realignment. Now, if they were to expand, they would have to realign. What they would do is add 2 teams, more than likely one in Nashville and more than likely more in Charlotte. Now those aren't official, and it would be a few years till that happens. But yeah, it sounds like there's going to be a couple expansion teams coming out into the MLB, and I'm excited. I'm excited for it. Obviously the NL and AL don't really mean anything other than playoffs right now, but they would still have to keep that just for the playoffs. Obviously, in the history of the MLB, there was the National League and there was the American League. They came together to make the MLB, Major League Baseball. But yeah, these are some realignment ideas. One that I like the most is Trevor Plouffe. He was the third baseman for the Twins for, 10 years or something like that. Now it's on John Boy Media and stuff. But his 2 ideas was to make, screw the NL and AL. You have the Western Conference, or Western League, Western Conference, whatever. You have the West and you have the East. And under the Western Conference, you have the Pacific, which would include the Dodgers, Angels, Padres, and Giants. You would have the Southwest, the Diamondbacks, Rangers, Astros, and Royals. You would have the Rockies, Mariners, A's, and it's blurry. And an expansion. Then you would have the Midwest, the Twins, Brewers, Cubs, Sox. But the thing is that you would want I'll go over to the East. On the Eastern side, you would have the Northeast. You have the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Blue Jays. In the Atlantic, you have the Phillies, Orioles, Nationals, Pirates. In the Southwest, you would have the Braves, Marlins, Rays, expansion. And in the water side, you would have the Guardians, Tigers, Reds, Cardinals. So these are, that's Trevor Plouffe, which I don't disagree with. I think that's actually a good idea. I think the absolute minimum, what you have to have, these are teams that have to stay in the same division. You have to have the Dodgers and Giants just because they came over to the West Side together and they've been rivals ever since. The Padres, people are saying, the Dodgers have to be with the Padres too. No. The Padres are just better than average now. They're just rivals with the Dodgers now because they're good. They've been bad before. They're going to be bad again. The Padres don't have to be in the same division as the Dodgers. Now, they probably will just because of how close they are, but that's just not a requirement for me. You need the Yankees and Red Sox. Again, just that rivalry. You need to keep them together. And then you need the Cubs and Cardinals, which Plouffe didn't do. He had them on completely different sides of the league. But I don't mind the Western and Eastern conferences, if that's what you would call them. Some other potential realignments. I think that the Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, Phillies. Again, I probably should have prefaced this. There would be 4 teams in each of the 4 divisions in 2 conferences, and that's what it would be, equaling 32 teams. Right now, there's 30 teams. Again, 5 teams in 3 divisions in 2 different leagues. It's a little confusing, but if you had the expansion, you would make another league pretty much, and again, completely kind of realign it. Let me continue to what I was saying. The Yankees, Mets, Red Sox, and Phillies would be a great division, but people are scared that they would be too good, and that if only one, or potentially, however the playoffs would work, 1 or 2 teams from that division would make it. But here's the thing. Yes, sure, the Yankees are always dominant. I will give the Yankees that. That's not the case for the Mets. That's not the case for the Red Sox. And that's not always the case for the Phillies. Just right now, all 4 of those teams are pretty good. Pretty good. I'll give them, they're good. All 4 of those teams are good right now, but that doesn't mean in the future they're not all going to be bad. Again, the Yankees have always pretty much been dominant. But I mean, that's not a horrible division. People are scared, they're going to be too overpowered. They're not. Times are going to change. There's going to be new players coming in and out, new ownership, new management. It's going to be all over the place. Yeah, I think the Western side is going to be very different just because of maps and stuff. I'm going to go... let's go here. So, some other... here we go. Who is this by? I don't know who made this one, but you need the Giants. You need the Dodgers and Giants together. So that means that the A's, Diamondbacks, a potential Portland team, and Mariners can make that little swoop shape, just go down the West. Again, it's not that much travel. If we really, really, really think about it, if we were to do realignment to teams that are close together. If they're 1,000 miles apart, that's not horrible compared to the Mariners who have to play the Astros in the same division. If the Mariners just have to travel to Arizona, that's maybe 2/3 the distance. That's half to 2/3 the distance from the Mariners to the Astros where they have it right now. So that's not a big thing. Like, they don't all have to be close together. Now, I'd prefer them to be closer together to make more sense, but they don't all have to be close together. If there was a Nashville team, they would probably be the northernmost team of that division, and they would probably add on to the Brewers, Rays, and Marlins. The Rays and Marlins and Braves would probably 100% be closest to be in the same division to each other. Where it can also get a little bit different is in the northeast kind of thing, where you have 16 teams within the northeast kind of area, and they can kind of go wherever you want. Again, I think it's a requirement that the Yankees and Red Sox be with each other, and that the Cubs and Cardinals be with each other. But again, you have the Twins kind of out there. You have the Twins, Brewers. You have Detroit and Toronto right there. You can make that little section over there. You have the Cubs and White Sox. You could have the Cubs, White Sox, Brewers, and Twins if you really wanted. And have... No, because here... Sorry, this is going to... If you guys are listening to this podcast, it's probably wild to think about, and you probably want to pull up a map to fully understand what I'm talking about right now. But you could have the Twins, Cubs, White Sox, Cardinals, and then you could have the Brewers, Reds, Tigers, Blue Jays, if you really wanted to. Or the Guardians and Pirates could mix in there. There's a whole bunch of different ways that this could go. There's no right answer right now. And again, this isn't official. Ron Manfred was talking about it. Nothing's official yet. I think that there's a 99% chance that there's 2 expansion teams and that there will be realignment, but nobody knows what that realignment's going to be, and it is a wild thing to think about of just realignment and the MLB and how hard that would be. So the next few years, I think 2027, that's the Olympic year. 2027, when's World Baseball Classic? World Baseball Classic, I think, is next year. 2026, 2027, they could announce it. They could release the 2 teams 2028, 2029. And when they release the teams, they would so that would be 2029. So I think potentially but then you got to build the stadiums, the teams, the brands. You would have to do, I'll talk about that later. You would have to do a lottery draft. So 2029 to 2030, I think, is when a realignment could be in full effect. Now, that's 5 years away. But since Rob Manfred said this a week ago, I have not been stopped. I've been thinking about it the entire time. Yeah. So, but what would happen with these, with a potential 2 expansions would be a lottery draft. And they just did this in the NHL. But what you would have to do is every team would have to give up 5 guys or whatever. I could be making up these numbers. I don't know the exact numbers, but every team would have to give up 5 guys to go into a lottery draft. And what the 2 teams, I'm pretty sure this is how it works. The 2 teams would draft each guy until they have their full roster, and then whoever's not drafted goes back to their teams, and then they kind of build a farm system, and it wouldn't be a horrible idea. It works out. They did it in the NHL, and I believe the NBA too, but a lottery draft wouldn't be, it's not as difficult as I think people are making it to be. But that is how the 2 teams would get the players, because I have heard, how are they going to get the players? That's how they're going to get the players. But yeah, the MLB realignment is going to be a lot of fun. Yeah, maybe you do it East and West, but then if you do East and West, the Cubs are going to have to be in the West. I mean, it's going to be the Mississippi River. I don't know. West of the Mississippi. There's still not a lot of, again, obviously, I'm looking at a map here. So if you're listening to this and this makes 0 sense, go look at a map with every MLB team on it. But all the flyover states, it's just hard to make that the West because there'll be teams east of the West. I don't know. It's crazy to think. I love thinking about this. It's just crazy to think about. All right, let's move on to more MLB news. Enough with that. More MLB news. The Mets, Frankie Montas, is going to miss the rest of the year with a significant UCL injury. It is obviously in his right arm, and this could potentially need Tommy John surgery. So Frankie Montas is going to miss the rest of the season. Because the right elbow injury, he was put on the 15-day IL, and then they recalled, the Mets recalled a guy from AAA from Syracuse. He hasn't pitched since his 2 innings in relief on August 15th. Mendoza, the manager for the Mets, said that Montas reported new soreness on Friday, leading to an MRI that revealed the UCL injury. When Mendoza was asked if it was a sprain or a tear, Mendoza said that he's got a pretty significant injury there, and we've got multiple doctors looking at it, and then said that Tommy John is possible. That's not good. That is not good. Montas is 3-2 with a 6.28 ERA in 9 games, including 7 starts this season. He's not all that good. It's not going to hurt the Mets that much, but it's going to be significant. It's going to, that's not the right word. It's not going to be significant. They're going to miss him. Like, there's going to be times where they could use him, and they're not going to be able to because he's hurt. But Montas finalized a $34 million 2-year contract with the Mets in December. And, again, he's just been injured since then. It sucks to see, but it's just what happens in sports sometimes. Let's move on. Zach Wheeler. We talked about Zach Wheeler a little bit last week, but we have some new news. Zach Wheeler is going to be out for 6 to 8 months. Oh, my goodness. He will miss, obviously, the remainder of this season and will hopefully be back by the opening day of 2026. He was diagnosed with now hear me out here, a venous thoracic outlet syndrome. I don't know what that means, but it is basically this is how I would explain it to a 5-year-old. It is a rare subtype of compression disorder that pinches a vein and causes blood clots to form, and it is repaired through surgery, which I'm going to get more into the surgery and everything. What is happening? I talked about it. I talked about Zach Wheeler last week about how he's going to be on the 15-day IL. No, he's going to be out for 6 to 8 months. That sucks. But with this surgery, it would allow him to return by opening day of 2026. This is like weirds me out. I don't get how this works. It's in his shoulder, but the surgery typically entails the removal of a rib to help decompress the area. They're taking apart Zach Wheeler and going to put him back together again and hoping that he's going to be back by opening day of 2026. Yeah, it's who said this? Rob Thompson, the Phillies manager, says it's disappointing, but everybody knows it's out of our control. We're happy he's going to be healthy because it's a very serious thing that they're taking his rib out for a shoulder injury. What? Like, that's just weird to me. It's weird. It's all weird to me. Like, I don't get how that makes sense. This is going to blow the Phillies championship hopes. The Phillies right now are 6 games ahead of the Mets. Without Zach Wheeler would have been dominant in the postseason. And if he's not making the postseason, I mean, the Phillies, I think, might be DS, if they're lucky, CS exits. I mean, without Zach Wheeler, I think he kind of makes that team. Again, low ERA, high strikeout totals, pinpoint commands. I'm speechless. This was the Phillies' year, and they're going to lose it because of Zach Wheeler, because they got to take his rib out to help his shoulder. Yeah, so they have Christopher Sanchez, Ranger Suarez. They have Jesus Man. They have Aaron Nola. They have Walker. They have good starting depth, but again, I think Zach Wheeler was that glue there. It sucks. It sucks. All right, let's talk about a new statue. A new statue in town. Adrian Beltre was honored with a life-size bronze statue at the Rangers Stadium. It's a cool looking statue. They have him on, I think it was 2 statues, actually. I think it was 2 statues. It was for, like, his Hall of Fame inductee, whatever. His number was retired in, like, 2019 by the Rangers. Just last year must have been, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, and then they bring out this statue. But yeah, good for Beltre. Obviously, I don't have the stats pulled up, but obviously a Hall of Famer. Beltre stats. Adrian. Let's go over his stats while he was with Texas. So obviously he was with the Dodgers for quite some time. The mic's falling. He was with the Dodgers for quite some time, but his main, I get it. His main parts, the ending of his career was with the Rangers. He played for 21 years? Yeah, 21 years. He was wild. 4-time All-Star, Hall of Famer, 5-time Gold Glove, 4-time Silver Slugger, 2-time Platinum Glove. He deserves a statue. He deserves it. Even though he's not dead yet, he deserves a statue. But yeah, he said he was kind of annoyed. I think he said it jokingly. Obviously, when he was playing, he didn't like guys like patting him on the head, rubbing his head, doing all that. It's just what guys do on baseball. But so they made the statue low enough for him where like the fans can like rub his head. And Elvis Andrus, he was the first one to do that to the statue, and Beltre said that he didn't love that part, but I think that he'll just live with the statue. I think he'll be okay with the statue. What else? We got what is this? Oh, an extension. Samuel Basallo signed an 8-year, $67 million extension with the Orioles. He is the number 4 prospect in all of the MLB. He is a catcher. Now you might be saying, "Oh, the Orioles already have a catcher, Adley Rutschman." That is correct, and I don't know what Adley Rutschman's thinking about right now, but they did just sign this other catcher. He was a prospect, so. Rutschman's obviously going to be the starter, but when you got to be kind of scared, you got to be a little bit scared when your team signs the largest pre-arbitration extension for a catcher in MLB history, and it's not you. You got to be a little bit scared of that. But one thing about Samuel is that he also plays first base. He's played 100 games in first place in the minors. Yeah, over 100 games in his 5 minor league seasons, and he also can be DH. So it's not all bad for Rutschman. Rutschman will obviously still be the starting catcher, but, if you need some off days, if he gets hurt, they always have Samuel to kind of back him up a little bit there. Let's talk. Let's rank the top 5 highest paid MLB managers. At number 5, you have the guy who blew the World Series last year. You have Aaron Boone. He is getting paid $4.5 million in 2025. It seems a little bit low for Boone, but given that he was just in that bad slump and that he was honestly scared of his job a little bit for a second there, again, I think that they're going to come back, but hey, he's still biting his nails a little bit. They're slowly growing back, but he's still biting the nails. Aaron Boone is at the number 5 with $4.5 million. At number 4, you have the Diamondbacks manager, overpaid Torey Lovullo, making $5 million in 2025. Right now, the Diamondbacks are 10 games back, and I believe how far? Wild card. MLB wild card. Why is the Brewers, or not the Brewers? I don't know why that was like that. Wild card. No. Let me go back. Here we go. Yeah, the Diamondbacks are 5.5 games from a wild card spot. So, Torey Lovullo, you're getting paid all this money for losing. So, congratulations. You scammed the Diamondbacks. I'm not mad about it. Don't get me wrong. Number 3, Alex Cora with the Boston Red Sox making $7.3 million in 2025. He, right now, the Red Sox are first in the division. They're 2 games up. No. I want to talk about the. I don't need that. Where's the MLB standings? I need the MLB standings. 2 games. 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 2 I don't know how ahead. They are second right now in the AL East by 5 games. They're 5 games behind the Blue Jays. But, they're better than the Yankees. They're better than the Yankees. You got to give them that. They're better than the Yankees. And number 2, you have Craig Counsell, who has the most underrated team in all 4 major sports. The Brewers are the most underrated team, and Craig Counsell manages them, making $8 million in 2025. They are the best team in baseball right now, and I feel like not enough people are talking about the Brewers. They are 6 games up in the NL Central. They're doing absolutely incredible. They're 81-49. No other team has 80 wins. The next closest team has 78? Yeah, 78, which is the Tigers, and after that, it's like 75 or 76 or something like that. Craig Counsell is doing absolutely amazing. He deserves every penny of that $8 million contract. And then the number 1 highest paid MLB manager is the David Roberts for the Los Angeles Dodgers, for the World Series champions Los Angeles Dodgers. $8.1 million in 2025. Again, we are a little bit tight with the Padres right now, closer than we would like to be, but Dave Roberts in the postseason, the stats, you can't lie about the stats. I mean, 2 World Series, he makes the World Series every other year as a manager. You just can't complete that. That's why he's making $8.1 million in 2025. All right, let's move it on to Jaylen Brown, oh my goodness. I don't know how I could say this. Okay, don't ban me on TikTok, but Jaylen Brown's, obviously for the Celtics, his dad is being charged with attempted murder and a stabbing on Wednesday night in Las Vegas. Yeah, I'm sure you guys are still watching the video. That is a crazy headline. Quentin Brown, who's 57 years old, was arrested on Thursday morning and booked into a detention center, made an appearance to a judge on Thursday, and his bail was set at $300,000. What was happening, allegedly, is that he was in Las Vegas. There was a parking lot dispute. Did somebody hit his car? Somebody was arguing about a parking spot. Brown allegedly dinged the victim's car when he got out of his SUV and then stabbed the dude. Okay. Yeah, Jaylen Brown's dad stabbed the dude. The dude was brought to the hospital, obviously. Brown was arrested, and is now being charged with allegedly stabbing a victim multiple times after his back was turned. And Brown's lawyer is claiming it was self-defense. I don't think that's, I don't know. I don't think that's, I'm not going to say that's not true, but nowhere in the report does it say, it only says that Brown hit somebody else's car, then stabbed him. Yeah, that's a no for me. That's a no for me. So I do think that he might be getting some jail time, potentially, allegedly. All of this is alleged. I am not a lawyer unless you want to be. We are starting HatTrick Lawyers. Yeah, so nothing on Jaylen Brown. This isn't Jaylen Brown's fault. This isn't a reflection on Jaylen Brown in any way. It's just linked to his name, and I saw the headline. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that. Crazy to think about. Jaylen Brown's dad was stabbing somebody in Las Vegas because he hit his car, and his lawyers are trying to claim it's self-defense. That wraps it up. That's going to wrap up the 113th episode of the HatTrick Sports Podcast. Make sure you follow us wherever you can find us. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, Spotify. You can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your Amazon Alexa. Check out shop@HatTrickSports.com for all of your merch. You can go to the podcast. You can watch all the podcasts there, all of our social media. All sorts of stuff is on the website. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week for episode 114.